Hello and welcome to the first episode of Messages from Mars, hosted by Zozimus Agency. We're excited to launch this podcast and bring our expertise from our fellow Zozies to your ears. My name is David Wilson and I'll be your host. I'm the EVP of Digital Marketing here at Zozimus, and in this podcast, I will be discussing relevant marketing strategies and trends in the marketplace. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the rise of ChatGPT and AI strategies and how they relate to marketing strategies. I'm joined today by my colleague, Nick. Welcome, Nick.
Well, thanks, David. Great to be here. I appreciate you starting this off.
No problem. So you want to give the audience a little bit of background about yourself and about
Sure.
Zozimus?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Nick Lowe. I'm one of the founders of Zozimus. Started the company back in 2004 with one of my partners. At the time, we were known as 451 Marketing, and we were for many years, and then rebranded about, about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, to Zozimus. One of the philosophies that we've always had at Zozimus has been to stay ahead of industry trends, do things better than other agencies, and really produce great results for our clients using science, using learning, being really, really curious. And so that's a way that we've operated for many years.
Awesome, thank you. I can't go anywhere these days without hearing about ChatGPT in AI. It's really exploded onto the forefront of everybody in marketing sort of radar over the last 4 or 5 months. Where do you sort of see the impact that ChatGPT is going to have on brand in the digital marketing and PR space?
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe even the $1 million question for right now. Everybody wants to know. So it really kind of deserves, to some degree, a short-term and a long-term answer. We're experimenting with a lot of things. We are observing a lot of things. I think one of the most common things that we're seeing in the short term that brands and companies are doing to utilize ChatGPT and related tools is essentially helping actual humans perform certain tasks more quickly and efficiently. It hasn't necessarily replaced that many people as yet. That may come, but at this point, it's helping them to do things that they're going to be doing otherwise, just more quickly, faster, more efficiently. A really great example that we're seeing, there are a lot of applications for this, but one that we're seeing quite a lot is things like content writing. Content creation is a large part of a lot of different campaigns, especially SEO campaigns. That's one where we're seeing it, really, really proliferate. So if you think about, how important creating search optimized copy has been to augmenting rankings for SEO, and how that's traditionally been done. So a lot of times brands and companies would have an industry expert within their own ranks who would write thought leadership pieces, or maybe they would shop that out to external writers, either professional writers, or sometimes they would use tools like Textbroker or Upwork or a number of other areas in order to create content, sometimes really prolific amounts of content, sometimes more focused content, depending on what their individual needs are. I think what we're now seeing, and this has really happened very, very quickly and very, very recently, is that the writers themselves are sometimes using ChatGPT or other AI tools for, say, thought starter, or to get over writer's block, or just to kind of create a whole piece very, very quickly that they then edit and improve. So what might have been maybe a certain amount of hours, say 10 hours to create a piece, maybe they can knock that down to 1 hour or 2 hours, right? So it makes those writers more efficient. What we're also seeing is brands themselves, the companies are getting wise to that, of course, and there is downward pressure happening specifically on content creation. And sometimes they're now trying to create some of that content internally themselves. So that does happen. But what we're finding is that people still need to be involved. It's not the sort of thing where you can just automate everything, because you still have stylistic issues. Things have to be brought into the right brand voice. You have accuracy issues. I think that's been fairly well publicized, is that a lot of these tools still are pulling out facts that need to be fact checked. And so you can't replace humans out of that just yet. Now, there are some things that we're expecting to happen, and this is maybe where the long-term question comes in, is I mentioned brand voice. So brand voice is something that it's kind of intuitive to a lot of us as marketers. It's intuitive to writers. They understand how a brand needs to be presented. But now some of the AI tools are incorporating brand voice into their learning
Hmm.
models. And so you can set up different brand voices or the right tone for different clients, and it will produce content that is closer to that. It's still not perfect yet, and there's a long way to go, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it still, again, needs that supervision of actual humans. But again, that can kind of help make things more efficient. Um, so really, as far as the long term, there are other ways that we know it's going to affect brands. We just don't know all of them yet.
Hmm.
Companies stewarding their brands may use things like customer service. Some of them already are. Uh, if you think about kind of the traditional model for customer service chatbots, before AI was involved, you would have kind of a response tree, right? People would ask about certain things, and based upon how they answered, there were pre-prescribed responses that would go down into this tree.
Hmm.
Now with AI, that can become much more fluid. It can be much more flexible, and it can become much more conversational. Again, there are a lot of consistency problems. There are situations where AI can kind of go off the rails a little bit. And so people aren't necessarily ready to trust their brand's customer service to that yet. But again, as the models improve, that's likely to be another area where brands and companies can benefit. And there are a lot of other things that we haven't even thought about yet that we don't know about,
Hmm.
and that we're keeping an eye on in order to see where this is really going to play out.
Hmm.
Short answer is things are happening fast. We know it's going to be impactful. We just don't know exactly where or how just yet.
Yeah, and totally agree. I think the speed of implementation, it's we're recording this in mid-May.
Yeah,
Most people hadn't heard of ChatGPT 5 months ago.
right.
Um,
Some people
Google
5 weeks ago, right?
5 weeks
I mean,
ago.
it's
Yeah,
happening so
so
fast.
it is happening really, really fast. So it makes it a little difficult to predict the future. But as an agency, I'm sure that clients are asking Zozimus sort
Mhm.
of, you know, how does ChatGPT and AI play into our marketing strategies going forward? So
Right.
can you talk about sort of the role that Zozimus plays working with clients to sort of navigate this new AI landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, a large part of what we're doing internally is keeping ahead of what's going on. We're doing a lot of experimentation, a lot of reading, a lot of just observing what's happening out there in the marketplace, in order to make sure that we can look for opportunities and try out different things and advise our clients on how they can make use of these technologies and how also they can not risk getting caught off guard by these
Hmm.
technologies as well. I liken it to some degree to social media back in 2007. And we went through a lot of the same thing. 2007, 2008, social media was really just starting to take off. It had existed before that. I mean, Facebook was around a little bit before that. There was also, prior to that, MySpace, Friendster. But what
Hmm.
was really happening in 2007, 2008 was Facebook was really taking off as it was open more to the public. Twitter was coming onto the scene. There were a lot of things happening. And we all knew that this was going to have a significant impact on the world of marketing. We just didn't know how yet. And so we were experimenting and working with our clients at the time, um, trying some things, recognizing that they might fail. And a lot of our clients were very supportive of trying that, with that caveat, and kind of taking that journey with us. And because we were able to do that very early on, we had a mature social media practice long before a lot of agencies did. Now we're doing the same thing with ChatGPT and other AI tools in order to really try and stay ahead and understand how this is going to play out in different arenas.
Hmm.
So being proactive like that is a large part of what we're doing. Just to give another observation, we were talking a little bit about how SEO and SEO optimized or search optimized content works and how that could be sped up. But I think what we're also looking at is making observations about not just that piece of it, but on the other side, just to continue with SEO, how does that also change with the way that these tools present information? If you think a little bit about the traditional use of search, right? You go to Google and you type in something, and it's still how a lot of people use it. People
Mm-hmm.
haven't all switched over to these chatbots yet. But you go to Google, you type in, okay, I have in my fridge, I have chicken and I have lemon. So I want a recipe for tonight that involves chicken and lemon. So you type in chicken and lemon recipe in Google, and you're going to get a whole bunch of different results, some of them with
Mm-hmm.
pictures, some without, but you're going to be able to read these titles and you look at them and you see something that sounds interesting. Maybe you open a couple of them in different tabs so that you can experiment and look at them and see which one is the right one. But you're doing that work of kind of parsing all this
Mm-hmm.
information, right? A an alternative way, and the way that maybe these chatbots work, and I actually tried this today. I went into ChatGPT and typed in, I would like a recipe that involves lemon and chicken. What do you recommend? Okay. And what it gave back to me was one recipe, just
Mm-hmm.
one, no
Yes.
links anywhere. It said, why don't you try this lemon garlicky chicken? And listed out the ingredients, gave the recipe of exactly how to cook it. I was like, great. But what's missing is all of that content creation that's currently happening with traditional SEO
Mm-hmm.
is no longer relevant. Let's think about, I mean, if I click through one of those links on Google right now, what would you get? You would get a recipe. It would probably be preceded by this long soliloquy about, hey, this recipe reminds me of my grandmother when I was a kid back on the
Yeah.
farm. She and I used to make this recipe, and like this nice touching story. I don't know if anybody actually reads that. Maybe they do, but it serves an SEO purpose, right? That's
Yes.
all there to make sure that that recipe ranks well for people searching on those
Mm-hmm.
ingredients. That's all irrelevant now because that GPT is not linking off anywhere, right? All it's doing is giving you the recipe that you can then act on. And by the way, you can take it to the next level with ChatGPT by saying, I'm cooking this for 4 people. Can you give me a shopping list? And it'll give you a shopping list of exactly the amounts that you need to get.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, it'll probably be able to tap into live inventories at local supermarkets. So I
Yeah.
can say, I want to go and get this now. Where is a place where I can get all of these ingredients in one place right now? And it'll give you it. Couldn't do that
Mm-hmm.
yet, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, the point being is that it's completely already changing the way that traditional content was used for SEO. We're still creating this content, but there may be no use for it another 6 months from now, a year from now. We don't really know. And then you have other models like, say, Microsoft's Bing or Bard, where you will get sort of some citations or some links out, but they tend to be very high profile links, right? Not links out to all these different blogs that somebody has done about their favorite recipes and all that sort of stuff, but maybe they'll link it out to something on New York Times Cooking or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that really completely changes the needs that we have for what kind of content is created, if it's created, and then where that content needs to reside in order to still have relevance to the new way that these are functioning.
Mm-hmm. The findability of content in with these chatbots is definitely an issue within the SEO space,
Yeah.
because it seems to be pretty guaranteed that a lot of people are going to see less organic traffic going
Yeah.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're consulting and when you're meeting with clients who are worried about, what can I do in this new chatbot AI world from an SEO standpoint, so to minimize the loss of traffic and to make sure that when Bard or Bing or ChatGPT brings up an answer, it's mine, and
Right.
potentially then links to me. Sort of how do companies do that and get in that position where they're the one who's referenced and not the other 9 that are on the page?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are 2 things that come to mind. One is that first off, if a large part of your business and its revenue is dependent only on SEO, then you should really think about diversifying what you're doing. I mean, I'm never an advocate of putting all things in only one basket anyway. There's a reason that we offer multiple different integrated services, and that's because they tend to work well together. It's also risk management. If you're only dependent upon SEO, then as that industry changes, and we know it's going to change a lot in the coming months and years, then that's going to significantly impact your business. You should be looking at other ways to drive exposure for your brand. One of the things that we're also experimenting now, specific to this issue, is talking with our clients about PR. And the reason that that's relevant is that gaining earned media in high quality publications is a great way to have content about you seeded out there that will then be high enough profile that it will be cited by Bard, by Bing, right? If they're only, at least for now anyway, if they're only focusing on high profile sites, that's your way to get out there. And so we're really seeing an uptick in the importance of PR being a really key part to your overarching campaign.
We've been talking a lot about the impact of chat and AI on SEO, and there you spoke about PR. How do you see the impact on other marketing services like PR, like strategy, like creative? Are they going to be impacted by chat and AI in the same way that you think that SEO is going to be impacted? Is it going to be different?
That's a good question, and some of that still remains to be seen. What we're seeing right now is what we're observing at the moment is ChatGPT and AI tools being helpful for those two particular areas in terms of efficiency. I don't see as much of a threat to them as I see for SEO right now. SEO, I don't see SEO going away. I just see it changing significantly.
Yeah.
Ready for that. And there may be ways that affects PR, maybe ways that it affects strategy, paid search, everything else. We don't know yet. What I'm seeing in those particular areas is with PR, for example, it can help with, again, writing, right? I mean, part of PR is writing. Again, it does not replace the human element, right? Because you need a lot of strategy that's going into press releases, that sort of thing, advisories. But it can help speed up some of that process. On the strategy side, and also related to PR as well, I think where it is definitely helping with efficiency is in terms of research. There is a lot of information that can be parsed very, very quickly that would maybe something that, again, would take an analysis with a team of several people, several days to do. You can do much more quickly using some of these tools. Again, there's the accuracy issue. So we have to be cognizant of that. We have to make sure that we're fact checking things, but it can still help, explore things like audience research, for example. You can get thought starters very, very quickly that then you can go down and fact check and explore more deeply. But it gives you an opportunity to look at a number of different things and get those thought leads very, very quickly.
Awesome. Nick, this has been really good. Very enjoyable, very insightful and thoughtful. So I thank you for that. Thank you so much for joining us today for the first episode of Messages from Mars. We'll be bringing you new episodes to you every month. So follow us on Instagram at Zozimus Agency and YouTube for the latest episodes and releases. Comment below if any subjects you'd like our Zoz team to cover, and we'll see you at the next one.